Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Georgiman and I'm your friendly neighborhood anime and manga fan. I love all things anime and all things manga, and I'm here today to talk about Netflix's very own live action adaptation of One Piece. So, what did I think about the whole series? In all honesty, I was very surprised, and just for a little bit of context, I was walking into this series, very skeptical, because we know that Netflix has not had a good track record at all when it comes to adapting any anime into live action whatsoever. We had Death Note, Cowboy Bebop. Both of them were terrible, and I was walking into this one just thinking to myself, how are they going to be able to achieve a decent live action of something as crazy as One Piece? Because the source material and just how wacky the whole series is as a whole, I didn't know how it was going to translate to live action. But if I gotta be honest with you guys, I absolutely love the live action adaptation of One Piece. I thought it was great, and not just as a casual One Piece fan, because I've watched all of One Piece as well as read all the manga, and I'm up to date with the anime and the manga as well. So I am a big fan of One Piece, and as a fan, I can say that I was very happy watching this series as a whole. Now, before I go any further with this review, I just wanted to give you guys a quick reminder to make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you guys can be up to date with all my anime and manga content that I'll be providing in this channel. It really helps out a lot, and I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to my YouTube channel. So you guys could please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Now, with all that being said, let's get into and discuss this series as a whole. So I wanted to start off talking about Luffy, because he's the main character of the show, and he's the one that's going to be driving the narrative going forward. And I think that the casting for Luffy's actor was fantastic. I don't want to butcher anybody's name, so I'm not going to even try to attempt to say the guy's name, but I just wanted to say that I think he did a terrific job as Luffy, because he captured the child nature as well as the seriousness when he has to get serious of Luffy, because we do know that Luffy is very wacky, and he's one of those characters that a lot of people either hate him or love him. I'm personally in the middle, where I do like Luffy, but I'm not like the biggest Luffy stan, and why not? But I do like Luffy, and I appreciate his character, what he represents. And I think that the actor that played him in the series, I think he did a fantastic job capturing that. Now, moving aside from Luffy himself, let's talk about the other members of the Straw Hats. So I'll first start off with Zoro. Zoro was awesome. I really enjoyed the way they adapted Zoro into live action, because he just seemed like such a badass. And if you ever seen One Piece, you would know that that's Zoro in a nutshell. He's that dude. Zoro is that crazy badass guy that will get business done, and he'll be all cool about it. And that's who Zoro is. And I think that the actor did a fantastic job, just being stoic. And moving along, we had Nami, and I think that she also did a fantastic job, because she really, gave it her all in this role, because you could tell just how passionate these actors are, playing these roles, because they know how important these roles are for people, because One Piece is a big franchise, and they know that just how much it's meaningful for all these people to know that, hey, these characters I love, I want them to be done rightfully and respectfully. And I think that, all of them did it, and I would say that Nami, to me at least, she was one of the standouts amongst the cast, and I loved the entire cast, but I think she delivered, a lot of dimension to Nami that I personally didn't think it was there in the manga as well as the anime, which was more serious moments, and moments where you feel very helpless for her. Now, there were some scenes that were not in the anime and manga, but Nami, the actress, she absolutely killed those scenes, and I think she elevated Nami's character to a greater dimension. And I think that just mad props to her. I think she did a great job. Now, moving along, let's talk about Usopp. Usopp was great. The dude that played him really added his own flair to him, and I think that was cool. And I do liked how they did they kept up with Usopp as a whole, with his lying, and he's kind of cringy at times, but that's how he's supposed to be. Usopp, he is the jester, he's the clown of the crew, and I think he did a great job capturing the comedic flair, as well as the persona of Usopp, and Captain Usopp, and why not. And I know that some people were upset with like, oh, why doesn't he have the big Pinocchio nose? Like, dude, no, that would have looked cringe. And one thing I particularly like about Usopp is that in this adaptation, they added some scenes with him involving his own arc that really, made me like him as a character more, because I'm not gonna lie, when I first was watching One Piece and Usopp gets introduced in Syrup Village, I didn't like this guy at all. I thought he was annoying, cringe. And as the show goes on, you eventually love to grow this guy and respect him. But in the series, in live action, I think that, that came to me way faster, because I was like, okay, I actually like this guy. I don't think he's just a clown. I actually do like that he's kind of brave and stands up for his friends and why not. And he might not be the strongest, but he's for sure one of the most relatable, in the sense that we're weak amongst all these powerful people like Luffy and Zoro. So I do like how the actor really portrayed that in the show. And to finally top things off, let's talk about my man Sanji. Sanji amongst the Straw Hats is my favorite. Now that being said, I was walking into this live action adaptation thinking like, okay, they better do justice to my man because Sanji is the GOAT, unquestionably the best written character in the whole franchise. You can add me at that because I will fight to the death in defending my man Sanji because I do think he's the best character written in the entire franchise of One Piece up to this point, both in anime and manga. And I think that in this live action, I think the actor was phenomenally casted, just like all of them, but I think he added some flair to Sanji that I really like, and I do really like his accent. I think that it's very suave, and I do love how they really capture Sanji's whole womanizer persona because he loves the ladies, and they really capture this in the live action where he's very suave. And I do love his dynamic with Seth even more in this show because they do something that the anime doesn't even do involving Seth that was actually involved in the manga, but the anime never did that. And I do appreciate that the live action went the way of the manga when it came to Sanji's backstory and Seth's. And I actually enjoyed Seth's and Sanji's relationship more in the live action because they added more layers to it. And there was more scenes that were added about Seth. And overall, I think that Sanji knocked it out of the park. But might be my favorite amongst the cast because like I said, I'm a Sanji bias and why not? Like, Sanji fanboy. Call me whatever you want. But in all honesty, I just really love his performance as Sanji, and I was very happy that, just the entire cast as a whole did a fantastic job. Because to me, the biggest worry about this entire series was, are the characters going to feel natural and organic? And I think that they all did. I think they all, played their part to perfection. I think they all did a fantastic job. And, it was just like pulling them from the manga and anime to live action. So that's something that I was very happy to see as I was watching the show unfold. Now, as I was talking about, the main cast, let's talk about now the villains. Now, the villains, particularly, I would say just straight off the bat, I think all the villains were done more justice, and I thought they were just overall better in this adaptation than in the anime and manga. And to be precisely, I wanted to pinpoint to one of them, which would be, Koro and Albedo, because Albedo, she's kind of whatever, and even in the live action, she's barely in there, but they add more scenes with her that make her more brutal and, more, like, demented and just kind of like a power hungry pirate. And I really like that because in the show she's kind of just like a clown, like she's just a throwaway, like like a weak character that she's very like one-dimensional. And even in the show she's very like that, like don't get it twisted, she's probably a one-dimensional villain and why not, but they added some flair to her at least, and something that separated her and gave her a little bit of personality. Like even her cannonballs, they were showing glitter. Like that was a nice little touch because like every pirate in this show had their own gimmick, and I loved how they stick with it. Now the one villain that really to me was miles ahead from the anime and manga was Koro. I think Koro was phenomenally portrayed in this show, and Koro is a character that overall the entire fandom of One Piece would arguably say was the weakest, like in the sense of he's the worst villain of the show maybe. Because he just sucks. Like the way that he was written, his whole entire plot, it wasn't that great when it came to the anime and manga. But unlike the anime and manga, the live action really does some interesting things with him, and I think that he was very elevated by the actor. Whoever the actor is for Kuro, he did a fantastic job because I actually felt like, oh, this guy's a threat. Because when I was watching the show, I was like, the anime, and like I was thinking like, he's kind of whatever. He's very like stupid. Like his plan doesn't make any sense. He's very silly. And in this live action, you feel like, no, this guy is very like intimidating. Like I actually feel him like a threat, which is crazy to think because Kuro is such a wacky character when it comes to like his whole gimmick of like the Freddy Krueger fingers and like how he's super fast and whatnot, and it can be either done really well or really bad. And I think that the actor managed to do it extremely well, and I actually liked the entire section of Syrup Village. And one thing that I wanted to note was involving Koro is that I actually like how he was able to kill Mary in the live action, because one of my biggest pet peeves with One Piece, and a major complaint I would say actually, is that anybody barely dies in the entire show. Like 1,000 episodes in and people barely die. Like there needs to be some stakes, especially when characters like Mary got spared like in the anime and manga. Like dude, come on. So I really appreciated that. No, the live action actually killed these characters, so I'm very happy because that was one of my biggest pet peeves when it came to One Piece. And I do like how Kuro, killed Mary and, really elevated himself like, oh no, I'm a bad guy. So I really like that aspect of Kuro as a whole. And I just think he was played phenomenally overall. But moving along, let's talk about the two main villains. I would say like when it comes to the best villains overall in the show, as well as the best two villains in the East Blue, in my opinion, which are Buggy and Arlong. Now, before I get to Arlong, I want to talk about Buggy, because Buggy was, to me, the absolutely GOAT of this show. Buggy is exceptional. Buggy was everything I wanted, and much more, because I'm a huge Buggy fan in the anime and manga. And I was very happy to see that my man, whoever portrayed Buggy in the live action, did a fantastic job. And you can tell all the passion that he had, playing this character, and the fun, because that's the one thing about Buggy. He's a very fun character, and I think that the actor really portrayed, his whole silliness, but at the same time very menacing tone when it comes to Buggy. Because Buggy, he's a clown, but even though he's a clown, you got to take him seriously and kind of find him especially a threat, especially this early on in the show. So I think they did a good job, portraying him as actually a menacing threat. And I do like how they did the Buggy circus and everything involving the Buggy pirates in the live action. I think it was much better than in the anime, because in the anime it was kind of corny and very very for its time. It was very cliche and whatnot, but in the live action they really added some cool elements with Buggy and just made him be a more fleshed out, I guess, and more sadistic pirate, which is something I always liked, and I wanted Buggy to be in the anime and manga. So I do like how, overall Buggy was fantastic in this show. And you just simply can't tell me that every scene that he's in, he does not elevate, because he definitely does, because Buggy is the GOAT, and Buggy will become the king of the pirates. Trust me on that, okay? But moving along, let's talk about the final villain, which would be Arlong. And Arlong is a character that, he is... his whole arc in the East Blue saga, he has the best arc, and that's both in the anime and the manga. And I think that the way they handled it in the live action, I do like how it was handled. I think it was very well done, but there was some minor complaints of mine, which were they did take away some things which were very iconic, or some things that they were in Arlong Park in the anime and manga were they didn't translate as well as in live action. But at the end of the day, I really didn't have any major complaints about it, because you guys gotta remember, animation turned into live action doesn't always translate one-to-one, and there's some things that get missed in the process. And some moments I would say was Nami saying Luffy save me. I think that the anime and manga did that scene much more, but it's only because I would say it's an artistic choice, because you see Nami really crying, be very expressive, because it's anime and they can really draw her to that extent. There's only so much that you can tell somebody's sad. So I would say that that's why I would favor the anime a little bit more. And my other big complaint would be that the Arlong Park walk that it's iconic between Sanji, Zoro, Usopp, and Luffy was not even in the live action. I mean, it was kind of, they walk a little bit, but not really. And I would have loved if we got to see that scene. I get why they took it out, because, pacing issues, but overall, I didn't really have any big complaints when it came to, besides those two. Now, let's talk about Arlong. Arlong was fantastic. Arlong was a great villain when it came to this adaptation in particular, way better than in the anime, because I felt threatened by Arlong, and I didn't think he was a clown. At some points in the East Blue saga, when I was watching Arlong, I thought that he was kind of wacky and he was a big fish in a small pond. I always thought of that. And in this one, you think to yourself, no, he's actually a very big threat. He seems almost unstoppable, but at the end of the day, we know that Luffy and the guys are going to take care of him, and they do. But even then, I just like how he was more of a mob boss in this adaptation, very threatening. And the actor that played him really played him to a T, because they really made him very threatening and very menacing, and just a threat of nature that you think, how are they going to take him down? And I was just very happy that they made him a very hateable villain, because he was very hateable. And both in the anime and manga, and I think in live action as well, because the whole thing with Nami involving him was great, and I just think that he was a jerk. Overall, he did a great job, playing the role of a villain. Now, two more characters I wanted to talk about in this video were both Shanks and Mihawk, and how they were, for me, brought to live action in a perfect way, because the actor that played Shanks really brought a lot of fun to him, and a lot of sincerity, and how you feel that's the Shanks, that's my Shanks, that's gonna be the future king of the pirates, red hair Shanks. And I think that the guy really, brought Shanks' playful side, as well as his very intimidating side, and just how, Shanks is a very chill guy, but when you mess with his friends, he will he won't let you walk away. And as for Mihawk arguably has the best scene in the whole show. Mihawk just disposing of Don Creek, and, just his suaveness, and just how he's carefree, and just how badass he is. Mihawk, to me, is the one that, to me, if in all honesty, was the character that was translated from anime and manga to live action the best. I think his drip, the way that he talks, the way he carries himself, everything about Mihawk was perfection. Like that Homelander meme, it was perfect. From the last minuscule detail, it was perfect. That was how I felt about Mihawk. And yeah, overall, I thought that everybody did a great job. And if I had to rate the entire series as a whole, I would say that, yeah, I think it's better than the anime. If you're going in as a new One Piece fan, you're going to have a great time. You're going to love this. And even if you're a One Piece, like, stan, lover, I think you'll really like this, because I think they do make changes that as a One Piece fan, you'll actually enjoy much more than the anime and manga, which I know to some people might sound, like ridiculous, but no, I really genuinely think so. I think that they did a lot of things that weren't done in the anime and manga, and they took their own approach for a better way. I think that that's why when Oda was involved with this series, I think he might have been like, okay, let's change some things up. I wasn't that great of a writer back then, so how about we change this to this? Like, I think that he was definitely very involved. And I think that, him being involved was a plus for the series, because you could tell just how much love and passion there is in this series. And if I had to give it a score, I would give this show genuinely like an 8 out of 10. I think it was a good adaptation, but definitely the best live action anime adaptation ever. And I would really strongly recommend everybody to watch it and, just experience this story of One Piece, because I love One Piece. I think it's a great show. And I think that, they definitely hint at more. So if there's a second season, which, like I said, they definitely hint at it, I'm gonna be there day one and watch it all, because I really like this show, and I can't wait to see, as the story unfolds going forward in this live action adaptation. But with all that being said, what did you guys think about the live action One Piece adaptation? Did you guys love it? Did you guys hate it? Did you guys thought it was alright? Whatever you guys thought, let me know in the comment section down below. Also, thank you so much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. I really appreciate it, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more anime and manga content in the near future. But yeah, with that being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.